Good morning. And happy 91st anniversary. You know, celebrations is a thing that we should always focus on because we should be happy in regards to the successes that we've had. And then I'm gonna throw this in there, we should also celebrate the setbacks we have. And you say, what? Well, see, these things that happen is only happening to awaken us to the real plan. See, it's not to hold us back or keep us down, it's just reminding us of who we are and what we're connected to. See, somewhere, first of all, let me give thanks to the Spirit, the living God that is permeating this atmosphere and that has provided all things to this universe. And as we contemplate them, it awakens something within us that causes us to see ourselves differently. And perhaps with the understanding that we get, we will awaken to the power that is residing within us. So you see, in this life, the burdens are the challenges that we have. It is only to tweak us back into our destiny. See, because a lot of times, and see in the Bible it says test, but I'm not saying test because we chose it. So what I'm trying to get us to see is that even though we may go off course, just like when you're sailing and the wind come and it blow the ship off course, it ain't off course, it's blowing it back on track to where it should go. And that's what's happening with us. See, we choose, and this is where some phases of the subjective life come in now. See, because it is our consciousness, our awareness of what it is and what has happened to us throughout our lives that a lot of us won't let go. You know, it's sort of like remembering the time when we was baking that cake with Mama and she gave us the spoon at the end. And sometimes we just reminisce on those moments. See, but with us as humans, when we don't do our homework, sometimes we don't understand that we need to be inspired and encouraged, but we also need to pray, eradicate the things that come up to us, spontaneity that has caused us issues. See, we have to bring these burdens, in the book it says, unto the Lord. And once we do this, we can receive the good that it awaits. So in 2 Chronicles it says, if my people who are called by my name, if they would humble themselves and pray and seek my face and then turn from those mistakes, turn from those disappointments, turn from those frustrations, and then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive them and heal their land. See, when we call on the Lord, it is a sign of humbling ourselves. See, because once we get into trouble, then we have to stop and look at what it is that caused it. So we have to humble ourselves. We have to hold on and look to that power that is out there. We know it's there because we've always felt its presence. But somehow we seem to not communicate with it enough for it to reveal itself to us all the time. But yet it's always present and always giving, but there's a disconnect. And that disconnect is in mind. And you see, and then when we let go, this is the beginning of our recognizing a power that is within to assist us through these tough positions. Seeking more of this presence is for us to operate and gather an understanding. And then as we turn towards God, we will receive the blessing. And when we receive the blessing, it's like God has forgiven us. And he has returned us to our greatness or our expectations. See, the first thing we have to do is recognize our oneness. If we don't say that God and I are one, then we can't live through the purpose that God has for us, because we're trying to do it from our own thinking and understanding. And it's okay, because we did experience it. And as we experience these things, we no longer hear that voice. Stop. Come back. Wait. Be patient. That's not right. Slow down. Come back. See, this is what we fight against. It's within ourselves, because we live from, no, I can't let them see me like that. I have to let them know that I know. There's nothing wrong with not knowing. But when you think you don't know, just be still and ask for guidance. See, it's connecting to the Father that makes it all possible. The people with the heaviest burden prayed the most. And from those people came another people. And we're living in that dream, in that vision, in that prayer. We're living in it today. Submit ourselves to this power, this God, that is only waiting on our recognition. See, it's only from the beginning that we are connected. And so the book in John says it like this. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. Everything is made by God. Everything that we see is made by God. It's all coming through because of God. In God, in him, is the life. And the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. It's amongst the people, is what it's saying. But yet the people didn't understand how it operated through them, so therefore they walk in darkness. You see, the light shines on to let you see where it is and what needs to happen. The light is saying knowledge, is saying wisdom. And this is what we have to use, the light of God, to move through these dark pathways of our life. And when we make a mistake, Father, I sit here with thee so that I can connect and understand and see my way to my next step, next position. See, just like in the song, he said, whatever it is. But because we're the ones doing it, a lot of times we think, oh, I got to do it. No, it's being done through you, but you're not doing it. You're the presence. The presence is in you. See, this illustration, it shows the connection between God and us. So in verse 3 it says, all things were made by him, and without him there was nothing made. And then it goes on to say, in him was life, the directions to live by. And this is the light for men. This is what we're supposed to follow. Then it goes on to say, the light shined in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. There is a disconnect with our understanding and the application of our relationship with God, which causes the setbacks and delays. See, it is only when we open up ourselves to go deeper, not because people are watching or not watching, it's just to be better. It's to recognize that on my own, I'm not fully seeing what it is that I need to see to be better or to do things differently than what I need to do. So this is why we sit and listen, and it can come through any avenue. And so when someone may be speaking to us and we don't understand or we don't agree, you don't have to say nothing. You just listen. Thank you. How should I hear this? Catch that? Right? How should I hear this? Because if someone is telling us something, they're trying to get us to see something we may not see. So we have to humble ourselves. This is where humility comes in. Can you help me to understand this? Now, you ain't saying it to the person. You're saying it to yourself. Because it's through yourself that you want to become better. And you want to understand what it is that's happening between you and whomever it may be. Because it is nothing wrong with expressing yourself, but you don't want to express yourself to the extent that you push people away. Can't live alone. You may think you can. And what I mean by that is we need human beings in order to make this life better. We can't get along. You can't do nothing without another person. So then in John, it goes further on and it says, he was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. No recognition of the power. Just not grasping it. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. We denied the presence. But as many received him, he gave to them the power to become sons of God, even to them that believe on his name. Now that's faith. And it's the acceptance of what this power can do. Even if you don't know about it, you should be calling on it. You don't need to know him by name, but you need to know that he exists. And in the knowing that it exists, you just say, help me. Father, I present myself unto thee. Lead me, guide me. Help me through this. Help me through this distorted information that I'm receiving that's not allow me to see my way clearly. Because like I said to people earlier, they couldn't read well, they couldn't write because they didn't let them, but yet what they do. Father, help me. Father, I know it's a better way. Help me through this moment. Help me through this circumstance. It don't matter that you're hurting. Talk to the pain. Talk to your discomfort. Talk to your mind, the wayward things that are, talk to it, slow it down, meditate. I hear you, but I'm waiting on the presence. I know that this presence is with me because God is in the ether of life that is in all things. And all things had to be an idea because this is the understanding in which was given to all men. And therefore I accept that this understanding comes to me. And I am filled with the power and presence of God himself. And that's why I can move through this like nothing is not bothering me or shaking me. Don't be moved by your disappointments. Stand in the disappointment and just say, thank you for showing me what I am capable of doing. Got to stand in the mess. Got to stand in the middle of it and call on the Father to help us through it. And when we do that, we will feel the presence. See, our relationship has to be built with God by first denying ourselves. What do you mean, brother? Well, in John 5, it says, I of myself can do nothing. Now that's Jesus saying that I of myself can do nothing. So you have to recognize that is not you. Or that is not me. It is the Father that it was in me. See, the humility will provide the understanding when Jesus said, as I hear, I judge, and my judgment is righteous because I do not seek my own will. I do not seek my own will, but the will of the Father who sent me. So we have to take ourselves out of it and allow God to lead. And I know it's difficult. I know it is. But this is what must be required. This is what is required for us to understand. And once we grasp the understanding of it, then we can use it. And this is all I hope to do here today. So simply put, let God work through us by first recognizing that God and I are one. And this power works through me as me. Period. We don't need to go no further than that. That's ABC. Let's start. That's pre-K right there. Let's just go with that. Let's remember that today. If we don't remember nothing else that I'm going to say, just remember that God and us are one. And there's only one life, and that one life is God, and that life lives through us. Okay? Now, in chapter 22, phases of the subjective life. Okay. Ernest Holmes says, we do not have two minds, but we do have dual aspects of the mentality in what we call the objective and subjective states of consciousness. Follow me. Our objective mind is our conscious mentality. It is the conscious awareness that we are living. I'm alive. I recognize it. This is spirit. We're living. It's spirit. This is spirit. That's it. Don't go no further. This is spirit. This is God. Because it is the presence that was called forth into the universe. Therefore, it's all things. So our objective life is outside, objective, outside. Our subjective mind is our use or our beliefs spoken to the universe of mental law. Right? God spoken to the ether of life. Right? And from that came into existence all things, even us. Okay? That manifests our beliefs into our physical universe. Our subjective mind stores all things that has happened to us. See, it's like we're recording. Like this, what you're seeing right now is being recorded. And sometime later on, today, tomorrow, in a few months, you'll look back at it and you'll be like, oh, was that what that meant? You know, we'll have a recognition or we'll connect the dots. You see, this is why we repeat a lot of our mistakes over and over and over and over until we can bring them to the altar and deny them entrance into our experience again. Now, the altar is that place in consciousness where we must give up our envy, our jealousy, stubbornness. The Bible called the Israelites stiff-necked. Stiff-necked is unwilling to leave the past in the past. See, we don't want to change. We are okay with where we are, but yet we're disappointed on the inside. And that's the struggle. We deny the good. We deny the good that we want by not allowing ourselves to grow in spirit. See, bringing it to the altar symbolizes the consciousness of consecration that takes place in the temple of worship. See, we all here and in like minds, and we're laying it down. And so in Romans it says, present yourself as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is our spiritual service as we become obedient to our true spiritual thoughts that love themselves and knows the difference between being arrogant and cocky. See, this is what we've learned from being around our peers, or those who have taught us some things, right? We look at how they said it to us, the way that they expressed themselves to us, the way they conducted themselves to us in front of us. And see, we record this, like I said, we recording all this stuff. So therefore, we believe that we got to have some get back, right? And so that's how we approach this thing. We don't approach it in love, which is what we're supposed to do, which is what the book tells us. Love thy neighbor as thyself. And we're supposed to love ourselves enough that we can love anybody. You can't let love go and expect for love to grow. You can't let love not exist and expect love to show up in your experience. I'm talking agape. Let's be clear. So if you're not seeing it, therefore you need to give it away. And I'm talking brotherly love. Let's stay focused. Let's be clear. No, we got to be clear. Because that's the one thing with the concept of the mind. Because there's different mentalities in here and we're thinking all types of things. But we have to know and be on track with the truth of what it is that we believe. See, because it is all this doubt that we have felt from others teaching us, telling us, advising us, instructing us to do and be a certain way. If you don't do it like this, you're not classy. If you do it like this, then you're not representing us right. These are all the things that we have to work through in mind. But in truth, we have to stand on the principle of love and light and know that I am greater than what I am currently. I may not understand or see what it is that you see from me, but allow me to grow in love. I promise I'm not trying to hurt you. I promise I'm not trying to disrespect you. I want to grow. Help me grow. See, we got to be real with it. But you know, it goes back to, well, you know, when I led, you know, Charlemagne and them, you know, we was 7 and we was hopscotching, you know, and she pulled a rope up and she tripped me. These are all the things that affects us, and we comes back in our lives and we use it against other people that we run into in our lives because we think they're going to do the same thing. This is how the mind works. We must have no problem submitting to the will of God. It is only our own desires once we connect to the one mind. The one mind is in us. This is why we have dreams and aspirations. It's trying to awaken within us what it is we need to do. But that dream can't be for me because it should have happened already. Doubt. I'm not good enough to do this. Why? Because someone said you need to be this or that. No. I am greater than my experience. I am greater than anything that has happened to me prior. Because I am aware that God is living and God is in the ether of the universe guiding and directing me always. Even when I don't let him. Even when I don't let him, he's guiding me. See, and it's like the story of the prodigal son. He went away with all his goods. He said, I'm going to live away from my family the way that they're trying to teach me. I'm gone. And while he was out there living, making a good life for himself, he ran out of all the things that he had. And he had to turn and go back. But the family welcomed him back with open arms. Didn't judge him. He said, go get the fatted calf. Go get the ring and the garments and put it on them. See, but not us. She thought she was going. She went out there. She thought she could live without me. They thought that they can go and do that without me. That's not love. That's not love. Love is to let live. Let live. And then if you are asked, then you say, perhaps I would have. But since I am not the one doing this, I don't know really how to approach this. But what I will do is I will sit with it and I will confer with you later. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know. The presence is only going to make us better. So this universal mind, why it's creating for us out of what we believe from those experiences as a reflection of our belief. You'll get it again. See, objectively, we did not make it. So here's an example. Okay? And the example is this. If we ran the hurdles in high school or whenever, or, you know, I remember they had this thing, it was called LA Jets when I was younger, that they had, you can run with. It was a running team. So if you ran the hurdles, and as you would run into the hurdle, you misstepped the hurdle, and you hurt yourself. What does that do to your mind? You've been thinking. So if we ran the hurdles and we missed it and somehow we hurt ourselves, it may cause us to rethink about being a hurdler. Now connect this. Objectively, this is what it means. We did not make it over the hurdle, which could cause a physical injury to us, so we may associate hurdling in a negative way. Therefore, we won't attempt it or we won't try it. Objectively. Subjectively, this is stored in our memory bank. And now when we see hurdles, we have a negative thought about it, which may inhibit us from being or liking or appreciating hurdling. Subjective and objective, this is what we're doing every day, all the time. Now, if we can give it over to universal mind, all things are possible to the one that believes. Instead of forming an opinion about hurdling, we begin to practice until we remove hesitation out of our consciousness. You got to push through the difficulty. Ask the musicians how many times they had to play until they got to where they are today. You wouldn't believe what they had to do to become who they are. It's hours upon hours and hours of repetitive, the same motion over and over until it's just natural for you. And this is what I'm saying we got to do with God. We got to give it up and just live the life that we want and just let God work it through us. Believe even when you have doubt. What do you mean? Believe it's going to happen. Expect for it to happen. Ask for it to happen. Ask for the doubt to be removed. We must remove this resistance out of our minds. Charles Fillmore gives a definition like this: the greatest disintegrating element in the human consciousness is resistance. Our concepts of the life we are living determines how we proceed through our definition and the emotional attachment to it. We should work to restore our soul with prayer, speaking to God with a recognition. Recognition, yes, God and I are one. Then unification. God is expressing through me. Realization. I speak this word for myself, knowing that it will all come together. Thanksgiving. I am grateful for what is mine to receive. And then the last step is releasing. I let go, knowing that it is already done. Got to know it. You got to believe it. See, the problem is that a lot of times we see people and we misjudge their confidence. We say they're arrogant, and so therefore, man, they think they got this and they that. And that's just a person who just believes in themselves. If they're representing themselves right, if they're speaking truth about what it is what they're doing, it is what it is. God has blessed me with a gift, and I made sure that I stayed on top of mine. Huh? Got to stay on top of your game. All right, so I don't get a spanking on the way home. Our recognition depends on our conscious mind and our body being raised from a sense to a spiritual consciousness. Not always what we can see, touch, taste. We have to get away from that. Yeah, those come in handy because if you touch something, you don't want to burn yourself. right? You want to be able to see what it is that you need, but sight is not that important. Take a look around. There's plenty of people successful without sight, right? So we have to get that clear to ourselves, right? And this is done by our acceptance of this Holy Spirit working through us. And so I'm going to tie it up in Romans 8:11. If the spirit of him that raised up Jesus from the dead dwelleth in you, he that raised up Christ Jesus from the dead shall give life also to our mortal bodies through his spirit that dwelleth in us. The book is telling us that this raising from the dead is referring to our ignorance of who we are and the power we possess with God. You don't believe me? 1 Corinthians 15:21 and 51. By man came death. By man came also the resurrection of the dead. Behold, I tell you a mystery. We shall all not sleep, but we shall all be changed. Amen. Look to be changed. Don't worry about your physical leaving this place. For what? You was born into this world unaware. You're going to leave it unaware. And you have to adjust to it as you experience it. But the book says it's a good life. So why not be joyful with expectation? Stop dreading it coming. Go out beating your drum. Now don't play offbeat where you get yourself in trouble. I'm saying play in tune with the life that Christ has given you within yourself, how it's guiding you to live and be. And be happy and joyful. And don't put no limits on yourself. Expect greater. It don't matter that for some reason you have not received or you have not gotten or somehow the love you expected didn't show up. Come on, man. Look at the love you have. Know the love that you do have and don't run away from that. A lot of times we run from the love that loves us because we think there's another love somewhere. Love the one you're with. And if it ain't working, then that's where you resolve it. How? By sitting with God. How do I become better aware of what is required from me in this moment? We have to give up the ghost, man. Raise our understanding and connect with spirit. We will do things differently. We will heal ourselves from the circumstances that hold us from receiving our good by having a disconnect from the source. Okay, last one. Our demonstrations of spiritual growth will reveal more of itself as we become acquainted with the power that resides within as we practice, operative word, letting go of doubt, frustration, and regrets by realizing that God has me covered. Regardless of and wherever I may find myself, the power and the presence is right there where I am. No matter the challenge, no matter the difficulty, just stop and call on the name. And if you can't call on the name, just sit there and just sit and listen. Sit and listen until you get the way that what the next move should be. And believe that I am built by God, I am led by Spirit, and I walk by faith. Yes. And so it is.